Shad's recording. Okay, so today we learned how to mince mince onion last week. Today we're going to show you how to mince a shallot. It's a little bit different because shallots obviously are slightly smaller and more oddly shaped than an onion. Okay, we are also going to, like I said, learn how to do oblique cut a carrot and then learn Paisan and Lozenge. Okay, does anybody know the dimensions of a Paisan and or lozenge? Cheater. Half by half by eighth. Anybody know what a Paisan is? Half by eighth. Okay. They're both the same size, finished product. The difference is how you make that final cut determines whether it's a Paisan or a lozenge. Okay. So we'll learn that here in a little bit. First, let's start with the shallot, because everybody knows that one, or everybody knows how to mince. Okay. Because the shallot is so small, you're not going to core the top. Okay, you're just going to pop the top off flush or straight. Same with the bottom. Okay. Shallots have this really weird layer of skin, so I like to take that first layer of. You can see it's kind of half and half. So I go down 2 layers instead of just the 1 layer of skin, all right? Now, with shallots, you may have one that has 2 lobes to it, which is fine because it gives you a flat side. I just pulled one of those lobes out. But you've got kind of a naturally flat side on your shallot, okay? When you're doing a shallot, okay, a little bit different than a onion. You're not going to start your plunge cuts and rotate around like I showed you on the onion. You're going to put your hand flat, okay, but you're going to spread your fingers up, right? So they're out of the way of your blade. The only potential spot that you might nick yourself doing this is going to be right here, okay? And that's because you're not paying attention. As long as you're paying attention, you're going to be fine. But make sure that you kind of push your fingers up and out of the way. Bring your shallot to the edge of your cutting board so you can get your hand off and get nice and low on that shallot. And you're going to do a couple of cuts through. See how I adjusted my grip on my knife? I'm not pinching the blade with this. I'm just resting my thumb on the blade to keep it steady. But you're going to make a bunch of cuts through horizontally. Okay. One final one at the top there. No, not going all the way through. We're still doing the same as we would with our plunge cuts. Okay, we're leaving that end attached. You can see I'm going about 3/4 of the way through down here. Okay. And then you're going to rotate and you're going to do your plunge cuts now. And same as with the onion, you're going to make as many as you possibly can all the way through that shallot. And not do what I just did. Okay? You rotate and you make your cross cuts. Again, as many as you can, as small as you can with those. Okay, when you get down to the bottom, you can see the core of the shallot down here. I don't know why this is zoomed so far out. Okay, the core of the shallot is a fairly large core compared to the onion, right? Or compared to the size of the shallot, okay? So it looks like you're wasting a little bit more of that shallot, but really you're not, right? You're just getting rid of that end of the core. You can see how deep it goes into this onion, or into the shallot, right? Once you have it minced, you're going to come back through, hand on the spine of the blade, rotating around the tip of the blade, and you're just going to rock your way through. All this is doing is breaking up those large pieces of shallot you may have left. Okay? So now you have nice, fine, minced shallot. Okay? What's something we could use minced shallot in? Or some uses for minced shallot? What's that? Salad, possibly, yep. Pasta, sure. Has anybody ever had shallot? What's the flavor of a shallot? Do what? I'm sorry? Then what? Slightly sweeter than an onion. It's more intense than an onion, though, right? It's got kind of a real pungent flavor to it. It's kind of a cross between a garlic and an onion. It's closer related to a garlic than it is onion. But salad dressings, if you want a little bit of that onion flavor in it, shallot's a great way to do that. Mince it up, and it's tender too. It's not quite as fibrous as an onion, so it's not going to have as much chew in a salad dressing. Like Trevor said, pasta, great way to add a little kick of the onion flavor to a pasta without having big chunks of onion. So I said they're a little bit sweeter than an onion. They are. If you caramelize the shallot, you get real nice, sweet, kind of aromatic onion flavor. So it's a great way to add lots of onion flavor to something with just a little bit of product. All right. Any questions on mincing a shallot? All right. Now we're going to do oblique cut. Oblique cut is kind of another way to add shape, texture to your plate with your vegetables. All right. It's not always conducive to be able to do I don't know why I'm feeling this one way. Taking a long way out. It's not always conducive to do a bunch of tournée, because they are time consuming and not everybody can do them. Not everybody's trained how to do them. You guys will be by the time you leave here, but most kitchen staff, they know what a tournée is, but they don't know how to do it, right? So this is another way to add kind of a different shape to that plate. Instead of just a rondelle carrot or a matchstick or something like that. It's another way that you can present your vegetables. All right. So always trim top and bottom. And then with an oblique cut, instead of working on that X with your product, you're going to turn your carrot, was that parallel to you? Okay. You're going to keep, excuse me, sorry. You're going to keep your knife on the X. You're always going to work at that angle with your knife, okay? If your hand is uncomfortable cutting, you're not cutting straight, okay? If your hand is comfortable, you don't have any tweaks in your arm, your thumb isn't sore, you're going to have straight cuts, okay? Put an angle on it. You're going to keep your knife on the angle. You're going to roll the carrot 180 degrees. Okay? Every time. Roll it 180 degrees. Slice all the way through. Tip to heel. Okay? And now you have a bunch of even oblique cut carrots. Okay, so they kind of have a little bit of a triangle or a pyramid shape to them, right? Biggest thing is always make those cuts meet in the middle, and you should have a nice wide bottom on it, okay? As long as you're keeping that same angle of your knife every time you roll that carrot, you're going to have nice even sides on those oblique cuts, okay? So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for consistency in all of these cuts. Because there's not a specific dimension of an oblique cut carrot. It's more the consistency of how you're making those cuts. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, any questions on that? Cool. Really easy cut. I mean, super hard. Worry about it. Just kidding. Okay. Now, Paisan and Lozenge. Everybody has their textbooks, or most people have their textbooks in front of them, or their neighbor has them out, so take a peek at them. What are the shapes of a Paisan? Square, right? Or better put would probably be tile, okay? Because they're not cubed. They are square, but they're nice and flat, so they're more of a tile shape, right? What about a lozenge? Diamond, yep. Don't ask me why it's called a lozenge. I honestly have no idea. I'm sure it has something to do with French, as most of our terms do. What can we use a lozenge or a paisan for? Mm-hmm. Yep, garnish on like a soup or a salad. Really, that's mostly what these cuts are used for. Consommes are a great way to show off your knife cuts. Paisans and lozenge are nice and small. They're thin, so they're fast cooking. So you can put them in a bowl and pour that hot consomme broth over top, and you'll have a nice, beautiful consomme. I can't think of the name now. Another French term that means consomme with vegetables. But it has kind of that confetti of those different shapes floating in there that the hot broth actually cooks in the bowl. So great way to show off those knife cuts. You worked hard on them. We are going to be saving them today, so make sure that you keep them separate on your cut tray, please. Okay? But like all fine knife cuts, you're going to start off squaring up or making your what? What's this called? Not plank, before the plank. Block cut, right? You got to have a nice even block to start with before you can make your fine cuts, right? How thick is a paisan? 1/8 of an inch. How thick is a lozenge? 1/8 of an inch, right? So you are going to cut all of your planks on this an 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay. From there, you're going to cut. Actually, this one just happens. I can cut it evenly. If you get lucky and have a carrot that's about 1 inch thick, good job, good on you. Okay. This one I'm going to trim up. Cut it about 1/2 inch. Okay. Now, see what my carrots are doing here? How they're kind of bending? There's really no way around that. This translucent part in the carrot, anybody know what that's called? It's called sugar core. Okay. As the carrots are grown and they're in the ground, when they start to get cold, all of that sugar goes to the center of the carrot. Okay. And that's what causes this. This is a nice sweet part of the carrot. This is the part that I used to love before I didn't like carrots anymore. But because of that, the fiber and the sugar in that reacts together. And when you cut it, see the curve that, okay? As it sits, it just gets more and more of a curve until the fibers of those carrots are so tight it just can't curve anymore. Okay, you just kind of have to practice and learn to work around that a little bit, and you're kind of just forcing the carrot into a straight shape when you're doing those cuts. Okay, so paisan is what shape? Square, right? 1/2 by 1/2 by 1/8. Okay, so paisan, you're going to have all these nice, beautiful little tile pieces. Okay, you're working on that X. You're slicing through, you're not pushing down. Okay, and you have a nice, uniform square paisan, right? Lozenge. There's one difference with the lozenge. Instead of working on that X, you're going to work on a bias, okay? Anytime your product is parallel to you and you're cutting on an angle, it's called a bias, okay? So just like the oblique cut, you're going to work on that bias, except you're not going to roll the carrot when you do it, okay? You are going to leave it. Okay, And now you've got all these beautiful lozenge or diamond-shaped tiles, right? Make sense? Any questions? Fairly easy cuts, right? These are really good cuts for you to practice because they help you with your consistency, and they help you with your knife handling, right? Because you got to keep that knife nice and straight in order to have those beautiful pieces of carrot there, right? All right, there you are. So we've got minced shallot, oblique cut carrots, lozenge, and paisan. Right? All right. Go ahead and pick up your knives. Start